Beate Gillette here, the Growth Architect. In this episode of the Business Growth Architect Show, we are talking about what your revenue barrier is and how can we break through it. What are the pieces that are typically in your way if you don't make it through a particular type of amount? And we're going to go through all the pieces that go into it. We're going to talk about the 3 elements that you need to have in full alignment. And I'm going to give you some tips on how you can break through your revenue barrier to get to multiple 6 figures or even $1 million. Listen to the full show to find out how. Until then. And hello, fabulous person. Beate Gillette here. I am the host of the Business Growth Architect Show, and I want to welcome you to today's episode where we discuss how to navigate strategy and spirituality to achieve time and financial freedom. Truly successful people have learned how to master both, a clear intention and a strategy to execute that in a spiritual practice that will help them to stay in alignment and on purpose. Please enjoy the show and listen to what our guest today has to say about this very topic. Welcome back, Beate Gillette here, the Growth Architect. Today we're talking about what is a revenue breakthrough barrier. What does this even mean? In this episode, we are diving deep into some of the stuff that oftentimes happens when you are wanting to break the 7 figures or multiple 6 figures, and you are just hitting that barrier and you just cannot push through. The overall idea of doing an episode on this came to me, for those of you who know me or have listened to some of my podcasts before, you know that I do a lot of facilitation. And for about 4 years, I've been involved in the entrepreneur organization where I had coached a program called the Accelerators. And the goal of these accelerators was to get them to the $1 million mark. Now, over the 4 years, I graduated the most people. You know, this could be for a number of different reasons, but I think it has a lot to do because I'm a strategist and I like spirituality and mindset, and I dive deep into these things. And so I help people to really understand what are these breakthrough barriers to revenue and how do you really break through those. And maybe you have to do the same thing, is where sometimes stuff in life happens where you have to reevaluate and say, I'm going to need to step back from something for a while and really look at what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Is what I'm doing working for me? And then you make an assessment and then you are reevaluating and then you're rolling out something else. And when I did that, I realized that the piece that I had developed is not just a piece that I can do over there. It's really a piece that I can do for you too. And what makes you break through a revenue barrier? It's a number of different things. And I'm going to give you some of these pointers so you understand. Part of what works is that you have to have a peer-to-peer support network. And it's not just a mastermind. So there's a difference between a mastermind and a peer-to-peer accountability group. And I'm going to explain the concept to you. So a mastermind, in the way we see this done with a lot of the internet marketers, is when you pay somewhere between, on the low end, $10,000 to the high end, about $25,000. Some of the high net worth are up to $35,000 a year. And then you get some programming during the month. Sometimes you get certified coach calls, and then you do in-person live masterminding. These masterminds have oftentimes a hot seat, and in these hot seats, you follow a format where you talk about what your problem is, and then you state what you need help with, and then the group is masterminding on helping you to break through whatever that is that's happening. And they typically stay in an experience share, what's called as a gestalt feedback, where they give you examples of something that they've experienced in the hopes that you then can derive some insights from something similar or relatable that has happened to them. I'm going to give you an example. So if somebody says, I'm not growing my company, I'm hitting this revenue barrier, then you would be asking the group something like this. Have you ever been in a situation where you feel like you're stuck and you can't go past a certain point? What would you do? And then the group masterminds on that. So that's a mastermind group, right? And what the problem with mastermind groups is that if you're still in the trenches where you really need more accountability and execution and implementation, then you come back with all these ideas, But because you don't have the processes and systems in place to really push yourself forward, you have this big high, and then you come back, and then you fall off the cliff, and then you do nothing for 3 months until the next thing, because it's just so daunting, because you have these great big ideas, which is what masterminds are for, and then you're missing all the foundational pieces to take you there. In a peer-to-peer accountability group, it is a little bit different. And that's, I think, why this program that I facilitated and where I created a 1-year curriculum on why this works so well, because I went and I broke it down into 90-day pieces. And I said, what are we going to do for 90 days? What are we going to do for 90 days? What are we going to do for 90 days? And what are we going to do for 90 days? So now when you look at your accountability, I helped the people that I facilitated to break it down in sizable chunks and say, for now, we are only focusing on this piece, let's say, how to generate revenue. On this piece, we are focusing on how to build a team. On this piece, we're focusing on strategies and systems. And what happens when you do that, instead of having these big, daunting overall goals to go to, you can stay focused and you can stay accountable. And then, of course, true to myself, I've developed all kinds of support mechanisms and forms and pieces, the workbooks and the worksheets and the action items. How do you keep yourself accountable and sticking with this for a long time? So let's talk about the revenue breakthrough. What is required for a revenue breakthrough? Well, you have to have these 3 pieces lined up: mindset, skill set, and action set. I talk about this ad nauseum. And it means that if there's a barrier comes from 1 out of 3 reasons. You either don't believe it, and it is that double binding message, how David Nagel calls it, or the screaming match in your head, how Marianne Williamson calls it, that there's this voice that says, you can. That's a positive side of you. And there's the other voice that goes, look at your bank account. Who are you fooling? This is ridiculous. This is a bunch of, right? So when you have that going on in your head, that's a mindset issue, because you kind of believe it, but you kind of really don't. And that's why you're stuck in this infinity loop, because you sometimes move forward and sometimes you fall back, because you depends on what side of the equation you believe in. The second piece is a skill set, is do you even know what you need to be doing? Now, here comes where a lot of the guilt and the shame comes in, which I find fascinating, is that we somehow have this notion that if we were to do everything by ourselves, that somehow there would be somebody at the end of the rainbow handing out a reward and said, Beate did everything by herself. Bravo. Clap, clap. The problem with that is there's nobody there to applaud me because I did everything by myself. I have no team. I have no community. I have nobody that's there to cheer on my success. So if you think that there's a reward, and I'm looking at you right now, if you believe that that is true, that there's a reward for doing this by yourself, then you're mistaken. There's punishment for that, because that is then the burnout formula, where you then go into your family being in the way of you working more, because then you have this mindset of getting there. And if you think you need to be getting there, then your energy goes toward a goal sometime in the future, which then will always remain in the future. And you'll always strive for a future goal instead of having moments of here, which I talk about also a lot in other podcasts. So that's why this does not work. That's why this mindset piece is so important. The skill set is, where are you not sufficient? Numbers, tracking your numbers. If you're not making any money or you make little money, tracking your numbers is not fun. I know. Are you not good in building a team? Do you know about leadership? Do you think that you need to do mini-me cloning? Well, what are all these things that if we really, really, really were honest with ourselves and look into that and say, what am I good at and what am I not good at? And then there's the action. What are the things that I'm taking action on and what are the things that I'm not taking action on? And if any of these 3 things is out of alignment, you are stuck. And that's why it cannot work. You get unstuck by an optimal alignment by aligning mindset, skill set, and action set, by understanding what these barriers are that you're up against, by then developing the skill, the support in the peer-to-peer network. And that is why we believe that it is really important for you to not try to do this all by yourself. I mean, let me backtrack here a little bit and kind of like give you the story of what happened in how I got to this. Everybody thinks that there's a subscription model is sort of the way to go right now. And I'm sure it's driving you crazy because you got like these 50 subscriptions of something that anywhere from $9.99 to God knows what you're paying for it. And the way you look at the subscription is, I'm a big fan of some of my project management software, and I feel that my project management software does the job of a full person. So I happily pay the money because I know that whatever my $150 I spend a month on my project management software really saves me an office manager that I would normally pay $60,000 to $80,000 for. So that's a bargain. Now, we don't like the notion of spending money because, again, that's the mindset issue that there is a reward for you figuring this out on your own. But if you let's just say we let all of that go. Let's just say that you could join a group, a forum where you'd meet people just like you that have the exact same agenda. They want to get to the $1 million mark or multiple six figures. And they know what they need to do, but they know there's a lack of alignment. So you don't really need to start from scratch, but you do need a peer-to-peer network. Would that be helpful for you? Would it be helpful for you if you'd be meeting them once a month? I think the key is the consistency of the monthly meeting. And that's the problem why all these marketing tactics don't work or the masterminds work for certain people at a certain level, but not on your way there because you're lacking the consistency. Like if you know that you're talking to me every month and you know I'm asking you how many calls you've made and where you are financially and what your income is, and are you staying focused, and are you doing the things that you committed to? Is there accountability for what you've done? You bet you'll be getting your act together because you're going to be talking to me. I'm going to be asking you for it. And if you don't do it, then we're going to dive in and figure out what the heck is the problem? Why is it that this keeps showing up for you? What do we need to break through to remove these unconscious barriers, which is why this episode is called The Barriers to Success, because a lot of them are unconscious. How do we kind of get you there? So I hope this makes a little bit of sense for you. So let me tell you what we've developed and, looping back to what I started to tell. I think that the subscription model, as painful as it might sound, is really not a bad model if you really think about it, because you're paying for consistency. So if you are in a subscription model and you committing every month, that really is a good energetic vibration. If I really think about this from a resonance perspective, I just joined a high net worth peer-to-peer network, and I joined it happily, and I can't wait to get started and pay my monthly subscription fee because I know the people. I was just at a conference. I met everybody, and I see the caliber of people, the brain power, and I know just how I felt leaving that conference, and I can't wait to get into a group because I know that I'm going to get so much out of it, and it's so worth it for me because I'm always wanting to improve. You make a decision. You always make a decision. And the decision is, I'm listening to this. There's resonance with what is being said. I do nothing. That is a decision to fall back. You're listening to this, you make a decision and you say, I need to be doing something, and you search for a solution and you do it. That's the action set. That's rewarded with a resonance and an energy that will bring that kind of stuff to you. You are making a no decision. This is not right for me. That's also okay, because then you are excluding that what we're talking about today is right for you. And it signals the universe, one source energy, to bring you something else that might be the solution to bringing you to that next level. And that's really how easy it is. I see there's so much resistance all the time, and I've been really working myself on letting go of a lot of the resistance because there's so much friction. And with the friction, it kind of drives me nuts because you're like always trying to figure out what the right thing is. So what have we done to help you with this? I'm starting Forum. And Forum is a monthly accountability group that we are starting through a third party, a company that literally came at the exact time I was thinking about this and said, hey, would you like to use our platform to build a group? And this group is actually called the 1 Million $1 revenue barrier, and it's specifically for consultants who want to get to that $1 million mark. It's split into 90-day segments. The best part about it is it's monthly. It is subscription though, but it is monthly, so you can cancel at any given time, and it's really inexpensive. It's $325. So I don't think there's really much to be said about spending 3 hours a month with me directly. I do this myself with you, and having my head in your business to help you break through these unconscious barriers so we can get you to break through to that level where you really can make your impact. And if that's something that you're interested in, just reach out in the comments or DM us, and we'll give you some information, and we'll put the link in there as well for you to check it out. But I'm actually pretty excited about it, because I do feel that these smaller groups, these peer-to-peer networks, are where we are going to be. I don't see online courses really working so much right now, because people don't want to go home and do this all by themselves. I think that the community is really something that is needed and asked for at this very moment. And so I want to put this out there for you. And if that's not for you, that's okay too. Just make a conscious decision, okay? Just say, no, this is not right for me. That's not where I am right now. So that, one source can deliver you something else that might help you to break through wherever you need to be breaking through at this very moment in time. And that's it for me, for us, and for today. I really thank you for giving me the opportunity to outline this. I want to kind of close with something that is just really happening in the space everywhere. I think people are really searching right now, and they're really searching for community and connection. And they're realizing that a lot of the rah-rah and the watts of cash and the Lamborghinis and Ferraris and the whatever, that's all wonderful for those who want that. They typically don't come to me. But that for most people, it's about family, community, meaningful impact. And you want to find something that has resonance with you on that level. And that is when I had a rather hard wake-up call at the beginning of this year, where I had to say, I felt I was out of resonance, and I've been working diligently for 9 months to allow these pieces to come through, and they're still coming through, and some of this is still not figured out. And as I'm figuring it out, I'm going to share it with you, which I would have never done a year ago, because I felt I always had to have it all together and be really clear and straightforward and focus on everything that I do. And I just don't feel like that anymore. I feel we are more in this together. This is really a journey we take together. And as I'm learning, I'm sharing. And as you're learning, you're sharing, so that we can take more people with us. And that's it for me for today. I thank you so much. You're amazing. Listen to your intuition. Follow your resonance. Get the friction out and make things happen. Because if you're listening to this, I can tell you one thing for certain. You've been activated. And if you've been activated, only you know what that means. And thank you so much for today. I hope I get to see you in forum. Reach out if we can help you with anything. Until next time, and goodbye. So appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for listening to the entire episode. Please subscribe to the podcast, give us a 5-star review, a comment, and share this episode with one more person, so that you can help us help